I wonder if he hears us.
Depends on what kind of device he's using, so it's okay.
Okay, Teresa, you have a financial statement to review?
Yes, the checks for this month, do you guys have your copies? I have the check approval information. You've all received this.
Yeah, I have it printed.
Okay.
I have it printed. I took a look at it. So I approve. But let's go ahead with the review.
So we wrote checks for 73 checks in total for last month from May 7th to June 4th. The total is on there, asking for approval for the Section 8 and the CDBG check. We paid 163 Section 8 payments in total. That includes everything from HAP to port outs to port ins. Everything so far, I mean, we have money, we're still getting our funding, you know, nothing's changed for us, which is good. We did receive the funding for the CARES Act. So that $35,000 has been received, and we're gonna discuss that further as we go into the next section, which I could just kind of do both at the same time, if that's okay. Hi, Javier. There's Javier. Okay. So, like I was saying, we did receive the $35,000 in the CARES Act from HUD. So we were looking for some approval on some COVID-related expenses. We are looking for the approval of payments and purchases out of that funding. We're looking to, the village has been providing us, what's that?
Oh, go ahead.
The village has been providing us with cleaning services, and moving forward, we will be being charged for 8 hours of cleaning services. So as you can see, that would be $212.24 per week.
Now, is that related specifically to the virus?
Yes, it's for additional cleaning services, because they go in, you know, they wiped everything down, and so the cleaning is a lot more than it used to be. So for right now, you know, with this additional cleaning, and they're also asking us to purchase a cleaning machine that they'll go through and they'll spray everything. It's one of those, it's a new thing that they're doing now.
Yeah. Can I just chime in real quickly, just to follow up on what Teresa's saying? Generally, the village doesn't charge us any overhead.
Yeah.
So unlike other agencies that have to pay rent and maintenance, et cetera, we don't charge that. But with the increased costs regarding COVID-19, they have asked us to pay for this.
Now, does that seem appropriate to come out of the housing choice voucher for those types of services? I mean,
Yeah, because most of the participants are Section 8 participants that would be coming into the office, and it is a COVID-related expense. It is an approved expense that we can use the funding for. So, you know, for us, you know, it won't be that much of an expense out of the $35,000 at this point. You know, so we're in pretty good shape to do it. If, you know, if you guys agree with that. It is nice having, you know, dedicated, they're going to come in with this machine and spray the office down. So it, you know, that is extremely beneficial at this point, once we go back to being open, like open office.
Oh, it sounds very important. I just wanted to make sure that it was allowable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, if you like, we can forward, which we haven't, the public and the PIH notice that talks about what funding, what we can use the additional administrative fees for. So we could send that out to you. It's not as many pages as the last PIH notice I sent.
Yeah, so then you guys will see it, because as we go through, we are going to be utilizing the money. So this way, then you'll know when, you know, as I'm asking for approval, if that's covered under that funding line.
Yeah, that would be tremendously helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make a note. Okay, so with those two. We are also asking for approval to purchase laptop computers that would be able to access our, we're not sure how it's going to be set up yet, if we're going to access our desktops in the office or if we're just going to access the server. So we are asking for approval to purchase, at this point, we're going to try and get 3 laptops and not to exceed $5,000. We're going to try, to not even get that high, but I'm not sure. They're pricing it out for me now. So I'll have a price soon, which I will have Marion send out to everyone to review once we get to that point. We're also asking for approval for the invoice for the Happy software. It is something that we pay annually to use the MRI Happy program. So that invoice is due. I guess with everything going on, it was actually supposed to be due May, but we just received it. So we're asking for the approval to pay that also. There's nothing being paid out of CDBG at this point. We are waiting for our next project. And we are asking for approval of the annual raises of 2% for Marion Russo, Carmen Maldonado, and myself, Teresa Riley, effective as of June 1st, 2020. So it would be as of Monday.
Okay. We'll do
Does anyone
the,
have any questions for me? I'm sorry.
Excellent job, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just one quick question, Teresa. Would the 35,000, would any of that be able to be used on the salaries, or is that a separate budget entirely?
I believe we've heard that you're allowed to use it for salaries.
But we're not.
Is that correct, Marion?
You know what, I believe we can use it for salaries, but I just have to double check because I had mixed statements.
Yeah.
Using that funding, whether it's solely COVID related. So if there were overtime, if there were additional
Projects you're working on.
right. So for example, the extra cleaning and the equipment, but but whether or not our regular payroll is, and in fact, we probably don't want to rely on that because that's a one-time amount that we're getting.
Yeah.
We should really know that we can carry this regardless of whether we get the additional administrative fees.
I agree
Yeah.
100%.
We're still receiving our regular admin fees every month also. So this money has to be spent before December 31st, or they're not sure what they're going to do with it. If they're going to ask for it back, whatever's not spent, or if they're going to allow us to keep it. That will have to wait till the end of the year to find out.
And just to let you know, the public housing side, those agencies will have to return any money not used. But they haven't told the Housing Choice Voucher Program exactly what we'll do if there's any remaining funds. So our first statement from our regional person before the first statement was that we would use that up first and then use our regular admin. So if we could have used it for salaries, but now the advice is changing. So we were told to create a separate budget line for that, so that we don't have to necessarily segregate the funds in a separate account, but we do need to account for it separately. So Teresa's created another separate account for that, so that it's specifically COVID related for Section 8.
Correct. It's
So more
blast
work
out
for
to that,
Teresa.
specifically that. What's that?
So more work for Teresa.
There we go. It's just another class. It's okay. All
why don't
good.
we just step back and get approval for those 4 items from the Housing Choice Voucher, the cleaning
Okay.
services, cleaning equipment, the computers, and the Happy software. I'm seeking approval for those 4 items. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
The second motion? We have okay. So those 4 items are approved.
Thank
Just-
you very much.
And it seems like, did we recently approve something for Happy? Not a year ago. Was that something else?
Yeah, that was part of the payments and 1099s. we had gone over on time. It was only supposed to be a couple of hours. I should have brought the email home. I didn't bring it home with me. We had like 8 hours and we were only supposed to have 3. So they did charge us for additional time. So,
Yeah,
that's,
because I don't know if you recall, but I'm not sure if this is what you're talking about, but we did add the 1099 in the payments module to our Happy program.
That's probably what it was.
So
It's
we
the
got
same
that,
reason.
and then as Teresa's saying, we needed additional assistance with operating the program. So we did have those. Those would have been the most recent ones. Other
yeah,
than
that was like that was last meeting probably, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It was, yeah.
It's all a little blurry at this point. So
Yeah,
I
and
do
I-
apologize.
And I don't think that I had the approval for the raises. It's not on the Novus agenda, so I apologize for that.
Oh, okay. It's on
But
my
I
working.
am the village under the contract. All the contract employees receive their raises as of June 1st. So across the board, all employees in the village are receiving a 2% raise. And the policy with the agency is, although our agency isn't under the contract, the agency complies with the contract agreement. So that's why we're seeking the 2% increase for for me and for Teresa and Carmen. And just to remind everybody, this community development agency only pays 10% of my salary. 90% of my salary plus all my benefits are paid by the village. So
Okay, well, I think we should seek approval for that 2% raise for Marion, Carmen, and Teresa. Have a motion. Ready?
Everything froze. Is everybody still there?
Yeah, are you there? Who made the motion?
I tried
make
to,
the
I don't know if I did.
All right, I'll second it. Ryan can motion and I'll second.
Okay, I got it
Okay.
now.
So
Perfect.
we have approved the 2% raise.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next item.
So before we move on, I just want to say, we keep moving around like items on the agenda, but I think that worked pretty good, that under the finance, we go through the finance and then we do any motions regarding payments under the finance section instead of breaking it up into each area of funding, which is what we used to do. So is that acceptable to the board to do it this way?
Yes.
As long as everybody agrees to each of the items.
Yeah, the items themselves, but how we do it in what order for the board meeting. I just want to confirm because we're just trying to figure out the most streamlined way, but to convey the information to both the board and the public that is in a way that's understandable. And I know that the village, the village board kind of breaks it up based on department. So I'm not really sure whether or not you have an opinion about what we just did. But I just put it all under Teresa. But anyway, if you want me to go back, we can go back to the other way. But at least we're following proper procedure.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The Community Development Block Grant Program, we have not taken any steps because I didn't think there was any construction, and in addition, I've been doing a lot of work on COVID-19 response. So we will be moving forward though, and I think the first project we're going to work on is the handicap ramp in the rear. The next step would be to get an estimate for the railing for the ramp, and then provide the town of Brookhaven all the documents they need to approve that. The other, I am having a phone call tomorrow with the Economic Opportunity Council of Suffolk. I don't know if Don will remember years ago, we had a case manager here through the Family Service League, and then EOC Suffolk took them over, and we had someone here about, I think she was here 4 hours a week, a little bit more, and she handled all senior senior issues, in issues for our residents that were seniors. So
That'd be me.
yeah, she helped. She actually helped the mayor with his Medicare application. So yes, she could help with that. But at this point, I'm just anticipating, and we haven't gotten a lot of calls from people in need. And so we may have the option, and I'm checking with the town, to use some of our existing funds for public services, additional public services. Usually we're limited to 15%, but it's possible under the new HUD guidelines, we can take a portion of the monies that we already have and put it to public services. So I'm meeting with them tomorrow to find out what services they can provide and what the cost would be for that. And then I will talk to the town to see whether or not they would be acceptable of that. One of the reasons why I thought the Economic Opportunity Council of Suffolk would be good is their offices are right at 31 West Main Street. So it's convenient. They're a large agency. They're across Suffolk County, and they have a number of programs. It's a multi-million-dollar nonprofit agency. So I think they've worked with us on a number of other projects. So they already have a family development program that this program could work under. And so I'll report back to the board and find out, what we're going to do. But that's about all I have for the Community Development Block Grant Program.
For that, Marion, I'm going to assume, I would hope anyway, that they have a really great outreach for Spanish speakers. Do they have people on staff that speak Spanish?
Yeah, I had actually asked if there could be somebody who's bilingual.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah, they do have bilingual staff.
I would like that.
Okay, I'll make a note. Yeah.
Hey, Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Yes. Yeah, I had sent an email earlier in the week about the waivers that were available under, generally we have our administrative plan that we adopted that has rules that we follow. And in addition, HUD has some rules that are just requirements. And I'm going to go back to my, I think I sent it earlier in the week and I forgot who I sent it to first, but okay. So what I talked about was the fact that and I can't find my email, but in the list, there's the waivers for things. So there are certain things we can't get waivers on, like filing the voucher management system, but the waivers for the monthly timely filing of the 50058s, the family financial information that Carmen has to file each month. Those we could get an extension on. We don't actually need that because Carmen is coming in and making sure. We haven't had any real delays in anything, so that's been good. But our housing quality standards, we definitely have not been doing inspections, and we need to get have a waiver on that. And let me just go through it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna grab. Where am I? Okay. I'm just gonna go down to the waivers. If you want me to go through them all, and I know. Okay, it's 6:21. I have a minute. So I listed the waivers in the top and then I highlighted the ones. So a lot of them are, I can explain them if you want, but the mandatory enterprise income verification, I think I explained in my email that that's the one that, that where our records are compared to Social Security records, and that's a requirement every month. Every time somebody recertifies, Carmen has to do that. And so if we adopt this waiver, then we have more time to do that. And that's more not so much for us, but for our participants who may not be able to get their information and be on time with their recertifications. We do need the waiver for the initial inspections because we had one move-in. We actually had two move-ins. One, I did the inspection, and the other one we tried to do via video, which actually didn't work out that well. So HUD didn't really encourage that. They encouraged the self-certification and us to follow up with our own, with an inspection as soon as possible. And we should be able to start doing inspections soon. The other, number 3 was if there's a, after the initial approval, is if there's a non-threatening condition, again, we get a waiver. We have, we allow extensions for that. It allows for alternate inspections. So we can make payments under self-certification. We have a waiver that allows us to delay our annual inspections if we have to, which we've had to because of the COVID-19. And the interim inspections as well. So we need those waivers. And it also, we're seeking a suspension of our requirement to do quality control sample inspections. So that gives us additional time to do those. Because we still can't go into anybody's home at this point and no inspections are happening, so we wouldn't be doing a quality control anyway. This other one, number 8, was about the requirement that each dwelling unit have at least 1 bedroom or living sleeping room for each 2 persons. And generally that's what we do anyway, and we haven't had any requests to add anybody to a voucher. And I think this was just in case there were people who, you know, maybe in the middle of this pandemic, needed housing and wanted to provide housing to their family members, and they wanted to allow this extension to provide for that. But I'm asking for it anyway, since, you know, that's generally, it's something that it's good to have just in case. Waiving the requirement to adopt revisions to the administrative plan. This one I definitely would like. I mean, we are adopting revisions, but these are just, not having to actually hold a hearing and do those things is much better. The waiver of the oral briefing, we haven't had any briefing. We haven't been giving out any vouchers, but if we do, I'd like to have that option, even though that's only till the end of July, but maybe they'll extend that depending on what happens with COVID-19. Also regarding providing voucher extensions, regardless of the current PHA policy, generally we give an initial 60 days. We give 2 30-day extensions. And then if it's somebody's disabled, we'll give an extra biz to 120. So we give enough to 180 days. So this allows us to do extensions on vouchers. Generally, under the law, there is an unlimited, you can give unlimited extensions. There's no requirement, but in order to keep vouchers moving along, we have a limitation in the time. Number 12 is about discretion on absences from units longer than 180 days. So again, not something that we've had come up, but if someone were, let's say, visiting family in another state and couldn't get back for 6 months because of COVID-19, we'd want to have that option to be able to allow that, where they wouldn't lose their Section 8 because they had not been in the home. Or let's say they were going to take care of a family member and had to be out of the home for a long period of time, or separated due to COVID-19. Tenant notifications, that's having a waiver not to have to give them advance notifications, is obviously saves us some labor. Number 14, you know, we're going to be fine with our financial reporting, but since they offered us the waiver, I thought we'd just take it, just in case something happens. Because we actually, at this point, our report won't be due until 2021, because we've already gotten our extension. They've already included that. Number 15, again, I talked about the 50058. That's the family report that has all the family information. It includes the names, the date, ages, the address of the unit, all their income, all their savings. It has a whole calculation. It shows their any exceptions that they have for medical expenses, or if you have children, you get a deduction on your income, and how we calculate the rent. So generally, we have to submit that within a certain period of time, and obviously they're giving an extension on that. As I said, I don't believe we're going to need that, but just in case, that's a problem. So I think I missed one, because I think I had 16. But those are the waivers that I have, and so I'm asking for the board to approve those waivers.
Well, they certainly seem reasonable and appropriate. So I'm seeking approval to have those previously mentioned items approved. Can I have a motion?
Can I ask you a question, actually?
Sure.
Yeah, Patrick.
On the topic of the inspections, I know there have been times when we've received complaints about resident safety or health concerns. Are we currently receiving anything like that? Any sort of complaints?
We've received a few things going on. The way that I've been doing it is I've been contacting the management company or the landlord directly. They've been very helpful in working with me and fixing things. There hasn't been anything that hasn't been resolved at this point going through this, because I do still get those calls. You know, my sink's clogged, my toilet's not working. The girl today, she had a flood in her kitchen. You know, so like I said, everyone's been really stepping up and working with me. And, you know, there's always, well, I can't get an inspector out there today, maybe Friday. And they start, you know, scurrying around because they don't want that inspector to see what's going on. So it helps, you know, but so far so good, Patrick. They're, you know, everybody's been really working together to make sure that there's no issues that are longstanding. They've been
Good.
taking care of.
So if we can't do waivers for, I mean, if we can't do inspections for a time, we're not concerned that things aren't getting addressed. Like, there's another way that we're going to find out if something is an emergency or a real concern that's not being addressed. We're still going to.
Right. I just say that we don't, any kind of 24-hour notice, so if there's an urgent matter, that still has to be handled in the same way. If we get a report of something that is a 24-hour fix, then we would notify them, and it has to be fixed within 24 hours. They still have that same obligation. We just don't have to go do an inspection to make sure. So we can verify it through, you know, remotely. They can provide, they can self-certify, they can send a photograph, which is what we've done in the past as well. So the obligations don't change, and our process hasn't changed a lot. It's just we don't have the benefit of having inspectors to go. So we have adopted, without the waivers, which was probably the, you know, we could have done this earlier, we didn't, but without the waivers, we, you know, we've been able to manage to, you know, to follow up. Teresa's been able to manage, not we. I use we loosely. Teresa has followed up and made sure that that's done. So yeah, so we have not stopped our enforcement of any of the housing quality standards requirements.
Correct.
Okay, good.
And as soon as this goes back, as soon as the building inspectors are ready to go back out there, I have a long list of inspections for them to go out there and complete. So no one's getting off on, you know, on passing on inspections. Like you said, for now, maybe someone that we do an annual for has something that needs to be repaired and we don't know, but we will figure that out within the next couple of weeks, I think, because I hear maybe they're going to start sending out inspectors. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Peter had asked to see me, and I just couldn't speak with him today, but that is one thing we could talk about with the COVID-19 funds, is that the building department may be backed up as well. I'm not sure what their rules are going to be, but perhaps we could use our COVID-19 for to have Franco come back just to do our inspections until we, you know, until we get back, because he has had the most experience. He does all inspections already, but the village with their budgetary constraints may not be, you know, may have to make choices about, you know, the number of inspectors or how they schedule them. And this would allow us to help the village by providing, by paying through these additional administrative funds for the inspector to be able to do the Section 8 inspections. So I think that's something I can explore with the building department. And once the inspectors are going back out, then we can have Franco come back. I would like to have Franco do them because he's because he's got so much experience and he knows all the tenants and he knows all the supers. So he can make sure things get done. Plus he's bilingual. We have a number of our participants speak Spanish. So I didn't think about that earlier. So I'm bringing it up now. I
think
may,
that's a good
I may,
Support that.
what?
I fully support that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll talk to Peter and Annie, and we'll talk about being able to do that, and then I'll pull the board for that additional fee.
Mhm. That's a good one. I like that. That's perfect. Because then we could do all our inspections and get them out of the way. I wouldn't have to take him back and forth from the building department, because we only get him 2 Tuesdays a month. And if they're even going to give him to me for the 2, once we go back, I'm sure they're backlogged too. So that's a great idea.
And with the village's financial concerns, as I said, they may be cutting some hours, so this would enable us to assist with that as well. So,
Okay, can I have a motion to approve those waivers as previously discussed?
Motion?
Second motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so those waivers are approved. Again, to step back to the checks, we normally initial the fact that we reviewed them. How do we want to handle that?
I have all the copies, so I don't know if maybe for July we'll be meeting.
That'd be nice.
Actually in person. I could always leave them at the village, if you guys want to come in and sign them, we are there. So it's really your call. You could wait until we all meet again, because I do have everything in a file for you guys. So be ready.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. Perfect.
Public authority, the board's self-evaluation. We've seen this before. And, that's,
I don't know if you wanted to go over that, Don, but I did provide the copy of the annual Board of Directors evaluation guidance from the Authority Budget Office. And then the board members themselves only fill out the first page of the form, like the one that says confidential evaluation of board performance. And then you send it to Don, and then Don will prepare the summary. So, I know that Javier, you may want to sit this one out, but you can still see what it is that we're looking for. I will. So anyway, so that's something that the board has to do every year, as we do each year. You provide it to Don. Don does the summary, and then he provides it to me, and we put it in the file. We don't have to file it with the state, but we do have to report that the action was done.
so before doing that, we should review the requirements and suggestions, and get it to Marion. She'll get it to me, and we'd want to do that by next meeting.
Yeah, I think they could probably just fill them out and scan them and send them directly to you, Don, and then you can do the analysis and then get it to me.
That's great. Okay.
And then if the board would like to have any separate discussions, you have time to talk about, those things. And no problem if you guys want to get together and put down a list of things that, you would like us to work on. But I think I would like to say that I think that over the last year, with Teresa's help and with the help of Michelle Yen, I would hope that the financial information is much clearer to the board. And I think that you're much more on top of what's happening financially. So I think that's definitely an area that we have improved. And I would hope that the other information we're able to provide you also gives you the information that you need to carry out your duties. But I know financially that had been something that was a bit of a challenge, but now that we have the new chart of accounts, the new system on QuickBooks, as well as the guidance of the accounting firm AVZ, I believe that, that clarity is provided now to the that you need on that. But I would hope that that review has improved since last year, because I think that was one of the concerns. So I'll just say that.
Okay.
And lastly, we have each year, again, Javier, particularly as you're a new member, every year we have to file an annual report with the Authority Budget Office. And the annual report has a series of questions that we have to answer, or I have to answer. And those questions revolve around, have we done the board evaluation? Have we done a review of the mission statement? And have we done a performance measurement report, as well as a review of internal controls? So I prepare those reports, but at the initial meeting, I provide just what we generally base those reports on, and that's on the mission statement that we had adopted as it's shown in 2009, which when we first adopted all of these, and our prior chair, maybe it wasn't a prior, but since Don's been on, we adopt every year the mission statement because they want to make sure that we're looking at it. The performance measures also are open to edit if any of the board members want to look at that and have any other suggestions. But basically, I will prepare a report that responds to all of these performance measurement goals. So I present it to the board, and then at the next meeting, you can adopt it, as well as I will send a draft of the report before the next meeting for adoption. It has to be done by August.
Okay. Any other business to discuss? Nothing? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second motion?
Second.
All right, what time is it? I lost my my clock.
6:40.
Okay. Next meeting is July 2nd. That's, and maybe we'll do it in Village Hall, hopefully.
I know,
We may.
absolutely.
Be well, everybody, and
Thank you.
nice weather.
Thank you.